they've copied.
But if you also look at it, I mean, in those areas, you acknowledge that the national conference acknowledged that, but in this one area, it would seem that that has not been the experience of many Nigerians when it comes to organizing local government elections by the state governments or the state electoral bodies. Let's not say the state government.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But when people say that to me, they say it in defense of no state police as well. My answer to them is that, look, who are the people in the federal? They're Nigerians. They're not Swiss people. They're not Norwegians. So if they are bad, if they're good in the federal government, they will be good in the state government. If they're bad in the state government, they're the same Nigerians. They are the same Nigerians. We don't get more irresponsible when we travel from Abuja to Lagos. And we don't get more responsible by just traveling to Abuja. If you make me a minister today, I will be the same person who was Attorney General yesterday. If I was bad, I'd probably still remain bad.
So what fuels this notion that Nigerians have about the states, the electoral commissions not performing up to par?
I'm sure there are some examples that would justify that feeling. But there is no logic to it, and I don't think there's any force of law that can support it. I'm sure people have had experiences, and people have had experiences with INEC as well, that are less than desirable. But I can't see any logic to it, and I certainly can't support it in law.
What about the fact that most states, when they conduct their local government elections, the ruling party at that center, or the state level, tends to win all the seats? And they tell you, look, that can't be possible. But that's what happens.
It happens in the INEC elections too. It used to happen.
No, but we see
maybe
now.
It hasn't happened recently, but it used to happen. We had states with 98%. I'm sure you recall. We had states with 98%.
No, but you don't have one party ruling or controlling the entire area. You have other parties that are governors in different states. But in states, you have the ruling party, whether it's APC or PDP, they tend to sweep everything. And people ask you, so where does my vote count here? Because I remember I didn't vote for this chap.
It happens at the national level, I must say. And I probably, if we want to go into specifics, we can talk about years and states where you find some states in the south part of this country declared, I think, what was it, 97% for one of the parties.
Let me leave elections and go specifics also on some of the issues that some would have said were rather not too important, like the national anthem. And even when you sit, that happens to be the prayer of the delegates, the old anthem versus the new anthem. How did that crop up, and how did you see that as a delegate?
Yeah, the recommendation to go back to the old anthem. There's a lot of romanticism involved in that. I personally, I think that because I grew up with the old anthem, it has a lot more meaning to me. But national cohesion is not trifle. It's a serious matter. National cohesion and the things that can help to forge a greater sense of unity. I think what we've lacked is those things that make us proud to be Nigerians. And I think what the conference was trying to get at was to look for the charter. They created a draft charter on national reconciliation and unity. And it was in that they suggested a return to the old anthem. It has its good arguments and it has its bad arguments. I mean, you don't chop and change national anthems. National anthems are things that grow and mature with countries. So I'm not really sure that changing it is the answer alone. There are so many other pillars of national disunity. The recognition of your sub-ethnic identity above your Nigerian identity, which is fueled by things like federal character, where you say that the presidency must appoint a minister from each of the 36 states. I mean, you can give it as a directive that you should have, and we advocated that the phrase should change from federal character to, which is a less pedantic phrase. It shows that we're trying to be national. We're looking for people who will represent the whole of the country. But to reduce it to one single appointment at the expense of things like indigeneity and residency, and I come from here, my wife was here, she's now married to me, but she's now gained my own. It is to encourage, so the Constitution itself sometimes encourages these sub-ethnic identities.
Do you agree with those who say that to a large extent, if not a very large extent, that the national conference, there's this tripod it could be predicated on, which has got to do with devolution of power, resource control, and revenue allocation, which they could not agree on, but they referred it to the government to come up with that committee?
You say we didn't agree on the tripod. It's not true. We agreed on many aspects of the tripod.
In terms of resource control.
Okay, let's get there. Devolution, we agreed on several things. The conference agreed on certain things. Resource control, I think the management of the conference handled the matter very poorly. I think it's absurd for you to suggest that having sat for 4.5 months, that we should now refer the issue of whether there should be a solid minerals fund, what the percentage of derivation should be, and the third one, what was the third one was I think it was the issue of tax allocation. That we should, the third one was the matter of a terrorism fund for the northeast of this country. We should refer those matters to the president. I think it was absurd. There was nothing wrong with us. It was clear we were going to disagree and call for a majority vote. But I think the management of the conference was trying to avoid that, and I think it's regrettable. So that was clearly a failing.
But do you see where they referred it to now, the federal government, do you see them coming up with a recommendation that will be acceptable to all?
I have my doubts. I even have my doubts that they will have the political will to even attack that point, that issue. And again, it's a matter of regret. Because certainly resource control and the derivation principle is something we have to confront. It is one of those things that creates the feeling of injustice across the country.
So for you, it's a question of when, not if?
Yes, it's a question of when.
Okay, well, we'll have to thank you for coming on this morning. Supo Shasore is a senior advocate of Nigeria. He was a delegate at that national conference and the immediate past Attorney General of Lagos State. Thank you again for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll be back in just a moment. We've got another session coming on with a different matter entirely, so join us again.